Thank you to our studio audience who came from the four corners of 74th Street or wherever you've come from. My guest tonight comprises just under 17% of what may be the world's funniest comic ensemble. He is Michael Palin, who is perhaps best known as a member of Monty Python's Flying Circus. And Python fans, and there are people addicted to Monty Python, will know him as the shopkeeper who sells John Cleese an ex-parrot in the famous Dead Parrot sketch, as the leader of the Spanish Inquisition in the equally famous Spanish Inquisition sketch, or perhaps you'll remember him from the Python series for his memorable portrayal, and a difficult role too, of Mrs. Jean-Paul Sartre, a role he performed in drag and with a Cockney accent, which may not be entirely historically accurate, but certainly was funny. PBS viewers, I guess, also know Mr. Palin from his short but brilliant BBC series Ripping Yarns, in which he portrayed, among other memorable characters, a young lad who was so boring that his parents ran away from home to avoid having to speak to him. In person, Michael Palin is anything but boring, and no one's likely to run away while he's here. His latest film, by the way, happy to say, is Time Bandits. It is not a remake, one of the few films these days that's not a remake. Time Bandits, he co-wrote this with his fellow Python, Terry Gilliam, and tonight we'll discuss all of this, plus the faintly slanderous charge once made by his colleague John Cleese that Mr. Palin is the most normal Python of them all, which is saying something. Will you welcome, please, Michael Palin. Your walk is familiar.
Yes, no, I can't do it as well as John.
That's John's walk.
He practiced for hours.
I wonder how he designed that walk. Did he...
Well, he had his body specially adapted, I think.
He must have
Quite
had
extraudinary.
Special surgery of some
Yes, I think so. Well, it's wonderful. I mean, couldn't be done by anybody else but John. But when we did the stage show, you used to see him rehearsing behind stage. And he'd do his voice exercises. And this as well. And anybody seeing him, you know, for the first time would think this man is in need of medical treatment.
Wasn't taken away. He's certainly the biggest Python, isn't he?
Yeah, he's not a great deal bigger than Graham Chapman, but he is big.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very far in the sky, John.
Well, what did you do to earn this crude description of you as the most normal of all the Pythons?
Yes, which I bitterly resent. Well,
I mean, you can't have a man going around saying that.
No, exactly. Well, I can't. I mean, it doesn't matter much. I mean, normal compared to the rest of them is really not normal compared to humanity at large, I don't think. But,
yeah, it might not be the world's greatest compliment.
No, I suppose I don't know. I mean, yes, I am conventional in a way. I've had the same wife for 12 years. No, 15 years. You know, the same kids.
12, no 15?
12, no 15, yes. Those 3 blank years I always forget.
Were they consecutive?
You know, I live in the same house. We haven't had our bathroom fittings changed. You know, I suppose I am, but...
and you've had the same...
Not in my brain, you know, the brain.
Brain has
not normal in there.
Secrets. And you say you've had the same children all those years?
Yes, yes, we had the same children. We put them in different order occasionally. Yeah. To muddle them up.
Switch their names around. That always confuses me. Gwen Dibley. Does the name Gwen Dibley ring a bell? Wouldn't it be incredible if someone named that were in the audience?
Instant ignorance.
Yeah. Because I think one of the first things every Python is sick of being asked, and is where does the name Monty Python's Flying Circus come from? And I learned from Mr. Cleese, your erstwhile friend,
yes,
that a runner-up for the title was Gwen Dibley's Flying Circus. What did she do to lose immortality to Monty
I don't know, it was so near to being thrust upon her, but Gwen Dibley, it was just a name that I found in... Well, the thing was, the BBC wanted to call it Someone's Flying Circus. For some reason, they wanted a hand in the title. They didn't want us hogging all the glory, you know?
You could
not just
fill in the
anything.
blank.
And we had silly names like A Horse, a Spoon, and a Bucket, and owl stretching time, and things like this, you know, which I think once the series had got going, they would have accepted. But at the beginning, they wanted to keep some order in it. So it's got to be Someone's Flying Circus. And I was reading a magazine at my mother-in-law's, and it was about sort of all the activities that go on at women's institutes groups, you know. Somebody gave a talk on Brazil, somebody gives a talk on flower arranging, somebody gives a talk on pygmies in the Amazon, and accompanied by Gwen Dibley on the piano. It was just the idea of all these things being accompanied by Gwen Dibley on the piano was rather nice. So, and I also thought it would just be, it'd be rather splendid to give someone quite anonymous. I mean, somebody just living up there in Cambridgeshire, the name of given the name of a television show. Just see what happens. The shock when they open the Radio Times. Mom, you've got your own show. What? I haven't been on it. No, you're not on it. You just named it. But the next day it wasn't quite so funny. Nobody found Gwen Dibley very funny.
I still do, but to me, that rejected title, Owl Stretching Time. Or was that what it was?
Yeah, Owl Stretching Time.
Yes. Owl Stretching Time.
This was Owl.
It's a wonderful idea. You know, actually, that wouldn't make a bad Python sketch. A ladies' luncheon with various speakers who are accompanied in tune-up and say, there are many interesting aspects to pygmies and accompanied by on a piano. I almost feel like I can see it now. Let me work on
stretching owls while accompanied on the piano.
Or stretching owls.
Yes, a delicate art.
Well,
to wit, to woo!
Woo! I'm sure you'd have heard from the owl lovers in England who are
Yes.
very quick to rise up, aren't they?
Well, and in the States, too. I did a thing on Saturday Night Live in which I sang a song. There'll always be in England, I think it was. No, White Cliffs of Dover, whilst putting seafood salad and 2 live cats down my trousers. It was all quite hygienically done, you know. The trousers were waterproofed. It was very comfortable for them down there. It was just, you know, a silly piece. But I think we had about 50 or 60. It's the first time it's been done, I think, live cats down trousers on television. And there were about 50 or 60 calls from, you know, live cat lovers.
I hate to bring it.
They wanted to see more of it. They wanted cats to be thrust down many people's trousers all over America. But
Would you be very hurt if I were to tell you that you weren't the first to do that?
well,
Lawrence Welk one night thrust down cats.
were they live when they came out again? The terrible thing was that, and I've not told anyone this before. Can I say it on the program?
Oh, you try anything, sure.
The cats were fine at the run-through. They were really very good. They were lovely. Mew, 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 yeah, nice run-through because everyone's relaxed and easy going. Okay, Mike, let's do the cats. Get them down there. Just put the cats down. Mew, mew, mew. Out they come. But on the take, live, you know, I mean, I've never faced such a big audience in my life. I mean, whatever Saturday Night Live was getting in those days. The cats became very nervous. It was quite obvious as I put them down the trousers that they, you know, had what you do when you get terminally nervous, you know, and I had no paper to clear it up with or anything like that. I just had to thrust them down there. And I thought, this is the end of my career, totally, you know, this is it. What a way to go.
The cats became critics in a way. Well, that is...
Sorry, let's get this on.
That's just awful,
it's sunk,
I must say.
Sunk onto such a level.
Next time you'll know to use experienced cat.
Yeah.
Do people expect all the pythons to be zany? You know what I mean? When you are invited to a party or go somewhere, someone meets you, they stand back and say, oh, go ahead, be hilarious and do crazy things.
Yes, well, they soon learn.
Sort of
They soon learn. They're not going to get that. No, it actually, it takes a worse form, really, which is of extreme wariness of people to sort of approach you at all and say anything in case you're immediately going to send them up and, you know, just mock them utterly, which is... It's very worrying because a lot of people you don't never talk to or talk to you in a very guarded way if they know you're from Monty Python. You'd be having a perfectly normal conversation about cats down trousers, anything like that, you know. And they say, what do you do? And I say, television show. And, oh, yes, well, what sort of thing do you do? And you say, Monty Python. And immediately they sort of start stiffening. Oh, yeah, and they start to look at themselves and worry that you're examining them for future silly walks, teachers.
Or I can see how they would think maybe I won't be funny enough to amuse him, the python, and try to be funny in your way, which also could be painful for everybody concerned.
It's not, you see, I'm hopeless because I'm terribly bad at remembering jokes. I can't remember one-line jokes at all, and people do expect you to sort of liven the evening up if things aren't going too well, and you know, I'm sort of a shy, retiring man.
That's odd. I can't remember jokes either, and I used to be a gag writer, or comedy writer, but I can tell you that last night at a bar, someone told me a funny story about 2 psychiatrists on a raft, but I have no idea what the story was. I can remember where I was.
Do you remember the last line?
No,
I can sometimes remember last lines, but not the bit that goes in the middle, which is even more useless.
A little destructive for the joke.
with a wooden leg. Oh,
You had to be there.
yeah.
Is there any reluctance, was there any reluctance on any of your parts to be part of a group? By that I mean, there are comedians who have had the choice of being part of a comedy act or part of a group, and they've said it's always a mistake because the group has identity, but you're later faced with either splitting off and then people saying you're not as funny on your own, or you don't get any personal satisfaction. That sort of thing.
I mean, the Python group actually formed itself quite normally. It wasn't naturally. I mean, it wasn't, not normally, I mustn't use that word. Naturally, because it wasn't as though somebody said, we have to have a group of 6 very silly men doing totally absurd things on the BBC very late at night in 1969. It was just that we sort of gravitated towards each other. And in fact, the group gave us a great deal of communal strength, which individually we didn't have, and we tended to be restricted by writing for comedians like we were writing for Marty, David Frost, people like that, who had a slightly more conventional format. Sketches had to have beginning, middles, and ends, taglines, punchlines, all that sort of thing that sometimes you would have the most brilliant idea, but if it didn't have a punchline, then they wouldn't use it. So we wanted, in some way, to be able to use this sort of material. So that's how we all sort of gravitated together quite naturally. And Python, for a bit, was, I mean, still is a terribly strong unit. And all 6 people in it are vital. You know, you take one part away, even though they may have been asleep for the entire meeting, but you take them away, and when you actually come to do a sketch, writing or performing, you notice the difference. But then, you know, for 2 or 3 years, it became so strong that we were working together all the time, and that people couldn't take. Gradually, some members of the group began to sort of get a feeling there was too much pressure being put on them to be with the group all the time. I think John Cleese felt it more than the rest of us, or first of all. And that was a slightly difficult period for Python, because I think then we felt the whole group was threatened, and what would we do outside of it? But now we've had the best of both worlds, I think, because we're still working together, or still having lunches together, and yet we do our individual things as well. So you can always go outside and have a go at something experimental, and then scuttle back into the fold and be with the people who, you know, do something you know will work.
Is it possible for the
That's rather a long answer, wasn't it? Stick around.
Forgot what I said.
It gets better.
Is it possible for the Pythons to bomb? By that I mean usually when you're established. I remember Cosby once saying that once he was known, things that he thought weren't even particularly funny would get laughs because of acceptance, and they knew he was funny and famous, and therefore by definition the audiences would laugh at the very same things that they may not have before.
Yes.
I guess I'm thinking of was it a psychiatrist's party or something, or was that you alone, or was that you and some Pythons, or a party at Oxford among some special event for psychiatrists? Does that ring any kind of bell?
It doesn't actually. No, that's terribly bad. Well,
let me tell about it.
Ding, 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 you tell me, and then I'll suddenly go, got it.
That's it. I may have misremembered it, but it seemed to me that you had some special thing done for a group of psychiatrists.
Sounds a bit
and they
Johnny.
did not like the reaction was very guarded.
Oh, hey, yes. No, I do know what you mean. Yes. Oh, that's way back. That's ages. That was the first
way back
public performance I ever gave in review.
Well, my research goes way back.
That's good, yes.
Obviously almost too
Sorry,
far.
psychiatrists. I mean, you thought of John, because he has a lot of them.
Yeah.
No, that was it. At Oxford University, that was the first time I did a public performance, was at the Oxford University Psychiatric Society Christmas party. It's a very Freudian event, if you can imagine that, you know, and that was so unsuccessful that I determined to make a career of this. It really was, yes. That's what it was.
Here's something I can really fail at.
Sitting there, yeah.
I wonder what that is. Have you ever played again for an audience, a similar audience? Is it something to do with psychiatrists
They never
in
asked
the audience?
us back. We've played some strange audiences. We've done structural engineers. They're not a great audience. They're not terrific. Because the number of structural engineering jokes I know, or even references, are highly limited.
Yes, if you know any, you're ahead of me.
Structurally.
Structurally. And they probably analyze the way the joke is made more than what it's about.
Exactly, yes. A lot of charts come out, you know, sort of slide rules, pencils, all that.
Try that cantilever to be funnier.
Yeah.
Is it possible that the Pythons could have arisen in America, I guess is a backwards way of saying, is there something peculiarly English about, British or English about the group?
Yes, there is. So it's peculiar is the word. And
Yeah.
I don't know exactly what it is.
I can't think of anything we have that corresponds to the Pythons in any way, really.
But I don't think the Python show would have got on anywhere in the world apart from the BBC. I really don't. I mean, we couldn't tell them what we were going to do even. They just said, all right, we'll let you, for some reason they said, we'll let you have 13 half-hour slots. Okay, now go away. Don't bother us. But call it something Flying Circuits. And I can't imagine many television companies letting us do that. And we could do exactly what we wanted, and we did. And for the first 2 or 3 shows, it was touch and go, whether people would like it or just walk out. I can remember after the first recording, it was like there's, real embarrassment, because a lot of our friends came in the audience, and they saw sketches with sheep dropping on top of newsreaders and that sort of thing, and French impressionists cycling around suburban streets in London. And at the end, there was a sort of lot of, great, yeah, terrific. You said, how did it go? Thirsty for any sort of reaction. No, lovely, marvellous. Anyway, got to get off. Can't stay. No, I won't have a drink. No, maybe next week. Serious, is it? Yes, it's 13 of them. Fine. Just going away for a bit. See, you may not be able to make next week. Yeah. But it was touch and go like that. And I can't imagine it happening in America. But the thing peculiar to Python was, I suppose, that it came from the university background, and particularly from Oxford and Cambridge. The same background that produced people like Peter Cook and Dudley Moore and Alan Bennett. Sure. And I think it's having a nice time for 3 years at the state's expense, and being able to sort of have a go and indulge one sort of what you think is your sense of humor, and also try it out in an actual review form in theatres and be seen by people from outside the university, people from London and all that. So that the encouragement was there.
Is there a section of the British public that just says, I don't understand what they're about, what they're doing up there?
Yes. Women, mainly.
Is that so?
Yes, a very strange thing. Women didn't seem to like Python at all. They do a bit more now. I don't think, I don't know what it is. Do you think it's because we dress up as women?
It may be.
They feel some role has been sort of taken over.
Does this include the wives of the Pythons?
Oh, yeah.
It does?
No, my wife quite likes to see the shows every now and then, but, I think she's slightly embarrassed having me in the house. What does your husband do? Oh, he's in Monty Python. Oh, yes.
Of course.
I'm a structural engineer. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. That's a job.
Now,
that's a job. Yeah.
She asks you to be away when company comes.
Yes, that's right.
I wonder why... what is it about the British and dressing up as women? There is an extraordinary, I almost said inordinate amount of it in their humor, as well as in their life, apparently.
Well, amongst men, yeah.
One here. Yes, it's mostly men who dress as women.
Women don't dress up as women.
And that and...
But English like costume, though, don't they? I mean, it's like sort of hunting and the clergy and all that. There's a lot of costume in English life. I mean, the royal wedding, a number of hired sort of admirals of the fleet costumes that were gone on that day, I mean, you couldn't get an admiral's costume anywhere in London, they're all gone, but the English like uniform, I think, or dressing up.
That also goes along, too, with, well, wait a minute, back up a bit. To me, it seems that it might have had something to do with the fact that in men's schools, they had to dress as women because there were no women. Well, I mean, I'm talking about in theatrical.
Talking about my old school.
In theatrical.
I can tell you that several of the women there definitely were women. I know that. Yes. Some of the teachers. Well, I can't say definitely all, but
we won't go into that. But there does seem to be a lot of. I noticed on, well, I guess what you'd call broader, lower comics on English television. I don't think a show goes by that they aren't in drag once or twice.
Benny Hill.
Benny Hill as well, sure.
Yes.
A lot.
And Ronnie Barker has a penchant. Do you get the two Ronnies here? Yes. Yeah. Ronnie Barker has a penchant. I should carry on with that, sounds rather rude. Ronnie Barker has a penchant for dressing up as women as well.
Does he do it in his work, too?
Yeah, well, yes, if it's not going too well.
Yeah. There's also a preoccupation, as someone politely put it, with the loo in British humor.
Excuse me.
No, please. It's just down the... Well, I'll have to handle this myself. Oh,
Sorry. Ah, dear. I haven't even started on the water yet. Yeah. Sorry.
you couldn't have. It's much farther away than you could have gone.
Oh,
What do you do back there?
That wasn't the loo?
No, that was.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That was my dressing room. Please, someone tell him where it is. Oh, now I suppose we'll be treated to sound effects. By the way, does everyone know what the loo is while he's gone? What?
Don't tell me what it is. Please, describe it.
Where does that word come from, by the way? Is it French for water?
In lieu.
L'eau?
Yeah.
Or the
Yeah,
lieu,
actually,
the place, maybe? Politeness, but never thought of that.
Waterloo?
Waterloo.
Well, you cracked something there.
Very
That's a good
educational.
discovery.
There is that. I remember, I've mentioned this before, I think, but I was stunned at the very first sketch I ever saw on British television. The first time I was in London, I turned on the set, and there was Spike Milligan doing a sketch which was set in the sewer underneath Buckingham Palace. And there'd be a tremendous whoosh, and he would say, well, that would be Philip. It's about 11. And he and two workmen down there were comparing notes on what was taking place above.
That was a live outside broadcast.
Was it?
Yes, oh, yes. I did it for the royal wedding, but you didn't cut to those cameras very often.
I suppose.
Yes, I don't know why it is an English thing, and I much myself. I don't have this sort of preoccupation.
You don't have it, no, so it's all right to ask.
Well, not now.
About that.
I did a minute ago, but it's fine now. It's nice. It's a nice little place.
It's not much, but we like it.
Yeah, no, it's very good, yeah.
Now,
Is
this
this guy
brings
always
us-
in there? The
Is
security
he
man.
back? This brings us to the inevitable subject of rat eating, which I noticed has occurred, by my count, 2 or 3 times in Pythonism.
Yes.
Does
Trying to put me on the spot here, aren't you? I didn't write any of those. Terry Gilliam has a thing about rat eating.
Oh, he does?
Yes. Actually, I might have written 1. Yes, I think I did.
Well,
2 at most.
but,
No, all right, 3. Yes, I did write.
seems,
Do they work?
do you want to go for 4? It seems unusual, rat eating.
Yeah, not in England.
Oh, it
No,
isn't. No, I guess
present
well,
standard of living. It's, you know.
a country that's been through
Yeah,
the war. and all that
exactly.
sort
In
of-
fact, you can only get rats at Harrods now.
No,
Yeah, that's it, yeah.
not in those gift baskets.
Everyone else eats stuffed rats. You know, just with...
Did you notice there's no one left in the audience? A large section of the audience just left. The last guest I had on talking about rat eating was G. Gordon Liddy.
Oh, yes.
What? No, that's
Is he a
true.
structural engineer?
No, he might like to be, but
Rat
he
eating.
talked about, as a child, overcoming his various
Oh, that's
fears.
right. Yes, I do remember.
And in one of them, he had an inordinate fear of rats, he felt, and so he roasted one and ate it.
Yeah. Did he roast it? I read that he didn't even roast it. He had it neat.
No, I think he...
Without, no salad, nothing like that. No dressing, just straight rat.
I
I
don't...
thought it was incredible, but he burned his hand and things, didn't he, as well? He sort of...
Yeah.
Really strange. I mean,
But
intentionally.
I don't think even Liddy would eat a raw rat. I'm
Raw
not sure
rat.
that- I think he was
Yeah.
able to overcome his fears without that.
We actually did a sketch once with rats running all over the set. I mean, trained. These are trained rats, and I'm not going to get back to the cat trouser story. These were very good, trained, disciplined domestic rats. It was Beethoven, John Cleese's Beethoven, composing, and there was this house which was full of rats. And just more and more of them ran over and through his hair and everything. It was just extraordinary, all over the piano. And they were actually quite pleasant. You know, I think people have a thing about rats, you know.
They
They've
do.
had a bad press through the ages, you know.
They do. There are people who aren't afraid of snakes, who are afraid of rats.
Yeah, that's it, yeah.
and-
Just because, you know, got a few dozen plagues or something like that, wiping out a continent. A bad press, you know. You know, they can't pin it down to which rat it was. They just condemn rats in general. Still.
Well, they have had a bad press,
They have,
rats
yeah.
in general. But, you know, the remarkable animals, they're really amazing. They really should be praised rather than damned all the time, the way they are. Do you know how far rats can swim underwater?
Yeah, but I've forgotten. It's something like a yard.
I was hoping you remembered, because I have
Because
no
you don't.
idea. But I read once in the National Geographic about that. Rats can fall from a 8-story building, I believe it is. They didn't say which story of the 8-story building they can fall from, but I think they must have meant they could fall from the ultimate story, not the penultimate, and land on concrete and be killed.
I've been trodden on by someone going by.
Yeah, but they don't scream.
That's quite an act, isn't it?
No,
To be able to fall
that,
8 stories onto concrete as a rat and not be able to get up again. Yeah.
But no, they can survive falls. They can swim a great deal underwater, and they can, and in fact, often.
They can read.
You're not going to believe this.
They can read.
They can't read.
No.
They can't hum. They can come up through your toilet. And it happened to a friend of mine. And this is true. They make their way through the pipes. Oh, it's off again. I mean, I would know. Well, we're about out of time.
Brown color.
You check that?
Yeah. I got it just in time. The security man's looking after it.
And here I am accusing you and your people of
Yes, right.
preoccupation with the loo, but this, in fact, happens quite frequently, and please don't let this give you nightmares. Would anyone care for a change of subject? Rats, toilets, transvestism, and all the other educational topics we've had so far. You can't be serious. Well, there's a man holding a sign that says good night.
Yeah.
Suppose we ignore
It
it.
says it's 6 o'clock.
Yeah, incredible. Well,
That won't mean
some,
anything, will it?
there's some other things I know. There's some other things I wanted to cover with you.
Yeah.
Perhaps you can come back tomorrow.
Yeah, but I'll stay. No, I'll stay here. I'm fine. I don't have anything else to do.
There's nothing to eat
I was
here.
hoping we could just chat on.
Through the night.
Well, I'll go and get the food from there and bring it back here. There's little grapes that
The grapes
back there in
yeah.
the room.
And wear those same clothes.
We'll see you tomorrow then, Mr. Palin, and the teachers for still.
This is the second program that I'm doing with Michael Palin, against a great deal of advice. He is a member of the Monty Pythons, as you probably know if you saw last night's extremely funny and strange program. Tonight he's promised to exhibit only his somber, serious, and philosophical side. But I guess you do know him best as a Python. He has a new film coming out called Time Bandits. Our own Shelley Duvall, among others, is in that film, and we will be taking a look at a clip from that. And Pythonomaniacs, or Pythonophiles, or whatever they would be called, of course, remember him as the man in the Dead Parrot sketch, the man who was neither John Cleese nor the Dead Parrot, and the Spanish Inquisition, and others. So if you will welcome again the only semi-predictable Michael Palin. I must remind you tonight of your reputation for being the most normal of the Pythons, which should give everyone some idea. Let's see, now, last night
Sorry.
were you likely to leave?
No, I'm going to be normal. I'm just going to say I agree with you. I think it's much better. And I'm
okay.
sorry about what happened last night.
Well, yes, there's been a lot of talk about it in the business, and I guess probably no one in the history of television has ever done some of the things you did here last night.
No, Lawrence Welk did.
That's
on your show. You should remember that.
Yeah, but that was in syndication.
Yes, when
yeah,
getting on everywhere.
Syndication is a whole other world.
It's like structural engineering, is it?
You're very hung up on
I'm
structural
sorry.
engineering.
No, I'll shut up.
What, in fact, is structural engineering as opposed to just engineering? People who engineer...
What? Sorry?
Oh, I'm sorry.
I didn't know. I know nothing about it. I mean, absolutely. I just put this out as a sort of, you know, it's something that's never fascinated me.
But I understood you had a good 10 minutes you could do on structural engineering. It's here in my notes.
Yeah.
So...
Well, I'm sorry.
Well,
obviously, the lines have crossed somewhere, but you know, I can...
Well, if you don't want to talk about it, I can understand that, but I don't know why you'd tell a person on my staff that you had 10 hilarious minutes on structural engineering and then come out here decide not to do them. Probably saving them for Barbara Walters. Oh, I am sorry. Now you're in a sulk. Oh, Michael. If I don't have to look at you, I can
Yes,
do
I
this
know.
all
This
right.
is the same with me. All right, let's not look at each other while we ask the next question.
My chair won't swivel, damn it.
You're a structural engineer. They'd soon have this swivel.
At least one.
They'd have it folded up and...
By the way, is there in fact a structural engineer here?
Yeah.
Because if there is,
Oh, there's 6 in the back row there. Must be a party.
male or female.
If those 6 and those 6 over there sort of got together, you could just form a bridge over the little gangway.
By the way, are you sexist enough to think when I say I'd like you to meet a friend of mine who is a structural engineer, that you're going to meet a man?
Yeah.
Yeah, we all do that still,
Yeah.
don't we? And yet,
The last thing I would expect to meet ever, even on this program, is a female structural engineer.
yeah.
I mean, it'd be interesting to see if there are any actually anywhere in the world.
Oh, I'm sure there must be. We'll probably
Yeah.
hear from well over 3.
No.
Is there any... I'm experimenting with being semi-serious
Yeah.
for a moment. The films that you all do, are they ever... what am I stammering to say here? If you did a Python film as a member of the Pythons, and we talked last night about being a member of a group as opposed to being an individual, the Python comedy is, you might say, impersonal without that being a criticism.
Yeah.
Say, as opposed to a Woody Allen film, which might be considered an individual's personal expression of something. Do any of you crave the freedom or opportunity or the whatever to do that sort of more personal comic thing?
Well, it's again, like I was saying, when you're in the group, it's not necessary. I mean, the nice thing about Python is that we don't have our photographs up alongside our names at the end of the show. So, I mean, it doesn't really matter who's in what costume, where, when. We can do many more things. But outside the group, yes, I think all of us do want a bit of recognition for a particular specialized area that all of us can do, we think, better than the rest.
Yeah.
But the great thing about Python is that the Python shows that all these come together, and that's how it works. But I don't think any of us are sort of egomaniacs, but I think some of us would like to see our names in sort of, reasonably large lights.
Yeah.
Every other light working, something like that, just a little bit. Like at the outside of the theater there,
Sure.
Dick Cavett.
Oh, yeah, in neon.
Yeah. Neon, yeah. Dick Neon, love it.
What did they do before? Where did they put people's name? Did they put people's name in gas lights, I wonder? No, they couldn't have, could they?
Dangerous. No, I think the answer is that yes, we do actually like to, I mean, not in the necessarily the sense of having your name recognized, but just being able to do something in which you can fall flat on your face, but it's entirely your own decision to do that.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not going to fall into the trap of having you compare British and American comedy, which immediately produces snores on the part of, in my case, the questioner and the person.
Yeah.
But I do find a specific aspect of that interesting, which is what I've seen happen here and on other shows, where a British comic will tell something that dies and he looks mystified because he's used a single word that we don't understand or that we have another word for.
Structural.
Somebody should... See, we don't have
I knew
those
as soon
here.
as I said that first, but now it's beginning to get a laugh, you notice?
It is, just if you repeat something often enough, as Hitler said, it will get a laugh.
Yeah.
I think
7 years is a long time to get one laugh.
I've mixed up my
Yeah.
history, I think, there.
Yeah.
But can you think of examples of that? Tin for can, as in Campbell's soup can. Somebody here once said, and then I said, I should put that in a tin, and wondered why there was no laugh, whereas he'd said if I'd put it in a can. Boot for trunk. There are other, wool for yarn.
Yes,
we would
that's
call
right.
yarn.
Well,
Plaster
pavement.
for...
Pavement, nobody understands pavement. Do you have pavements? Sidewalks.
We have pavement, but
sidewalks.
I wonder if we mean the same thing by it. Do you mean what's on the street?
Well, sidewalks that you walk on.
No, that's
not the
not
bread.
pavement.
Not the
That's-
bread.
Yeah.
What?
What we walk on is not the pavement.
Oh, no.
I mean, the sidewalk is the sidewalk, and
Yeah.
the pavement's on the street. Where's your pavement? Your pavement on the sidewalk? No, not your payment, your pavement. Where is your pavement?
My pavement is on the side of the street.
Ah, I suspect
Your pavement is the street itself.
the street,
The road
yes.
surface.
We pave our streets.
No, we don't do that.
makes
no.
much more sense.
No, we just pave our pavements. We street our streets. No, that can't be right. That can't be right. I don't know what we do. We don't have a word.
No, that's why we're
Structural
better than you
engineers
are.
again. They're the best.
That's why we won the last war, and you didn't.
Oh, I'll tell you one.
My
actually.
country's mixed up now.
I'll tell you one is lifts and elevators.
Lifts, that's right.
That's a classic one. I always say, I got to get in the lift.
Get in the lift.
People just, or I've just come from the lifts. I think, because lifts, those are lifts.
Yeah,
aren't they?
yeah, I was going to say, do you know what lifts are here? They're either things in elevator shoes, or she has had a lift, will mean she has had part of her anatomy elevated surgically.
Really? So if you give a lady a lift in England, you elevate her surgically.
If you... If you give her a lift,
Try that. I'm going to get a big car.
get a big car and start
Big
it.
car and a lot of knives and things and some drip feed.
Yeah. If you give her a lift, you'd better have more than a driver's license. You should have a medical license, because it could involve a lawsuit.
I tell you another one. Is knocking someone up. Oh, yeah, they all know that. Sorry.
Please.
Oh, I'm sorry. I mean, it's a simple thing. You all know it. But
There
I
are
mean,
men present.
in England.
Watch your language. You know, women are virtually never shocked by so-called naughty
Well, I'm not
language.
shocked by that
It's
at
always
all.
some man who says, "You're letting these women hear this," and they're
Yeah.
not upset by it.
Women are...
Yeah.
Arise, defend your right to be not shocked.
Look, yell out some dirty words and watch. These ladies will just not move a muscle. Here it comes.
Just have to look at them.
Yeah,
No, I'm not.
I
No,
think
no.
you ought to
I
do
could
that.
say that.
I know you
could
could,
say
but
some
you're
dirty
known for your
words, but I'm not
restraint.
going to. No, absolutely not.
Would
We're keeping
you-
them for our next film.
Do the Pythons avoid topicality just by, consciously, or it just happens that way? What I mean is, you see the sketches now, and they're hilariously funny, and they'll always, a man buying a parrot and complaining
Yeah.
that it seems
Yeah.
to be dead is funny, I think,
Well,
at any time.
Yeah.
And wouldn't be any funnier if he were specifically the prime minister
Exactly,
at that time.
that period,
or something. Yeah.
No, I think topicality is a bit restricting. I mean, it means you've sort of got to... You're making much more of a point about a certain person, as you say, It's about the Prime Minister rather than about bad service in shops, which is endlessly topical.
Yeah.
But that actually came... the parrot sketch was a result of my experience with a garage in which, anything you said to them about your car, anything broken down, they would say, well, it's new, That's a new car. That's what happens with new cars. You always get that.
I expect
Fine. But you say the brake doesn't hold the car when you stop at the brake. Oh, yeah, well, that's newness. That's a newness. That needs tightening up. It's fine, but I was going down a hill and it didn't stop. Oh, no, fine. We'll adjust that for you. I was telling this to John, and it was just, they would never, ever, ever accept that there was something wrong, dangerously wrong with the car that could be put right by, the garage. They just, oh, no, it was always me, or something like that. Well, you get in, you're sitting in the wrong place, That's why the doors fall out.
And it's your,
and I told
what do you
the John-
expect from buying a new
Yeah,
car?
exactly. You can always get in these cars anyway. That's what they say, And I told John about that, and we actually did a sketch about that on a show called How to Irritate People, which was a special made for the States. I don't know if it was ever shown here, but it was written by John Cleese and Graham Chapman.
What a
That's
wonderful
marvelous
title. I don't see how anybody could not.
Well, it was about all the various irritating situations, like the waiter in the Indian restaurant who's over humble all the time, you know. No, I clean your chair. No, I clean your chair. Don't you worry. It's fine. No, I clean it for you. I clean it absolutely for you. The chair is filthy. Mahmood, the chair is filthy. Get a new chair. No, it's fine. I'll sit down. No, I lick it clean with my own tongue. I lick the chair. No, please. No, it's all right. It's perfectly fine. And then, he ends up sort of knifing himself. And the situation where the family are at home, they're entertaining, the couple are entertaining another couple, and it gets to the bit of the evening where the wife says, sorry, touched your foot there. The wife says to the husband, tell your joke, you know, tell that joke, you know, that sort of situation. No, I don't think it's the time now. No, come on, tell the joke. And the other couple say, oh, you have a joke? And he says, no, it's not really time. And it's gradually drawn out of him, the awful humiliation of this man. As soon as he starts the first line, the wife says, no, you know. No, he didn't come in. The man with the wooden leg came in first. Oh, yes. Well, the man with the wooden leg came in first with a Scotsman. No, Frenchman. Until the man was absolutely reduced to jelly. And it was a lot of situations like that. Very nicely observed and very funny sketches. But, well, where did we get to? Oh, that's right. And the garage sketch was one of those. And it was when John wanted to sort of revive it for Python. That was a year before Python. And so in the first Python series, we were going to revive it. We thought we must, you know, we can't use exactly the same, so it was changed to the parrot.
Ah, that became the parrot.
That became the parrot, which is much funnier. The parrot is I mean, the idea that the parrot is dead.
Wonderful.
No, it's sleeping. Oh, that's all right. Having a rest. And then all that smashing on the counter. Wow, back, boom, bow, p'dum, 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 p'dum. Wake up, Polly! Bang, bong. I never get to do this part normally. I have to watch John do it. Wake up, Polly! Bang, 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 thwack. Now, that's what I call a dead parrot. To which the shopkeeper, admirably played, says, no, it's stunned. Stunned? Yeah, you stunned him just as he was waking up. Totally live confidence.
Wow. And it wouldn't be any funnier if it were topical. No doubt about it. It couldn't be. Suppose, as we sit here today, as opposed to when you might be seeing a rerun of this years from now, for example.
Rerun, is that really?
It could happen.
That's in a bit of paper I signed, is it?
Oh, yeah, you signed away the rights.
There's a bit of extra money.
In perpetuity.
Oh, well, we don't want to talk about that. Just if there's a rerun.
We have exclusivity, so you can't work again for another 4 years.
Don't think I will after this.
You may work, but not at this protection.
Yes, right.
Structural engineering. The audience will be chanting it before this is over. But as we sit here today, I saw very discreetly worded on a set backstage that was tuned to the cable Reuters news that the Princess of Wales, Lady Diana, is expecting.
Really? You saw that today? Expecting what?
They for sloppy reporting, they didn't say what. Now,
typical.
Yeah.
Typical.
I'm sure that,
expecting,
if she were pregnant,
a goose to walk in.
A goose to walk in
From the garden.
Oh, from the garden.
Yeah, from the garden of their house, lovely house in Gloucestershire.
I do see the point.
With 30 bathrooms each, they have. Not the geese.
The geese don't have
No,
bathrooms.
the geese don't have bathrooms. But
No, they're very independent. Have a
she's
way of
really
finding their own.
expecting.
She's expecting. Now, as you say, it didn't say what, which brings it to the point of sort of over-politeness that is both British and American, but maybe perhaps more British. So we can't really say, if a lawyer were trying me now, he couldn't say, but you have not heard that she's pregnant, have you, Mr. Cavett? I know that's a shocking word, one that used to be cut truly from American television shows. But she is expecting. Now, I wonder, would that be anything that the Pythons would latch on to?
Oh, what are you going to say for a minute?
Oh, I mean, what I mean is, would you feel a responsibility? No. Would you feel?
I don't feel any responsibility, but if there's money involved, we'll pay. Okay? She can bring up the kid, good education. That's okay, but that's all.
I mean, would you feel a responsibility
I
to
want
do
to
a
see it at the
sketch on
weekends.
the
I don't
subject?
mind that.
Is what
No, I don't
yeah,
think
that
it's.
certainly wasn't pointing any fingers or anything. would
No,
they say,
no, we wouldn't really.
We'll have Philip, we'll rerun the procession, and Philip will be carrying a shotgun, and see him, or would,
It wasn't
would
really
they
Philip,
dare,
you know, in the procession.
or the rustling of calendars as people count back all over England.
Yes, no.
But it wasn't...
It was a security man. I didn't realize that at the royal wedding. The security men were all dressed up as sort of coachmen and all that sort of thing.
Oh, I'm sure they were.
And one was dressed up as Prince Philip. Prince Philip was bound and gagged in his underwear back at the palace. Queen was a dog.
That isn't nice.
What? No, a very highly trained Alsatian dog.
Oh, I see. I see what
Oh,
you're saying.
sorry, no.
Oh, no.
You notice I didn't say bitch. No, I couldn't say that.
No one would say a thing like that, or even suggest
because
it.
this gets back to England.
Even
you know.
in humor.
Even in humor. Whatever that may be.
But they are, I should say at this point, very lovely people. I should say that, shouldn't I?
Yes, you should say that. They don't fight, swear. Well, they swear a bit, you know. They're human. They're human. This is a wonderful thing, Dick. The royal family are human. They're just like you or I.
Yeah.
Mm. Well, you know.
More like
you.
More like,
Oh, God, you have a regal air.
H-E-I-R? That reminds me of a thing you wrote. Oh, no, forgive me if it was not you, but I think it was. Advice to the prince on
Yes,
getting
that's
married.
Right, yes. Well,
I'm going to ask you to remember something you wrote now, because it's hard.
that was in the New York Times.
Yeah, and I'm sure I'll botch this because I can't do it, but you said the first paragraph was to forget that he was Prince of Wales, and there followed at least 4 inches of type of his many actual titles, followed by the words, and just be yourself. And it's a wonderful visual joke, which is, we can see here, doesn't translate very well into verbal humor. Yeah, there's a lesson in that. Run the film clip.
It is.
It
is amazing if you look in the books, you know, of I Spy Royalty sort of books, and it gives all the things he is, the regiments he's...
Those were real,
General, head of,
yes,
a prince of all sorts of strange little bits of Britain that I've never even heard of, you know. Heir apparent, Lord Marcher of the North Falkirk, you know, Brigade of Dragoons, 3rd Inniskillings bracket Burma division.
Keeper of the
Gordon Highlanders.
Royal Geese or something.
Right.
They sounded very like that. Well, before we make the mistake of not doing this, there is a clip from the film... it's on the tip of my tongue. It's got to do with bandages.
I should have known this.
Bandages?
This is the whole point of being here.
Don't tell me.
Time bandages.
Time bandage.
Time bandages.
Bandits.
Yeah,
it's bandits is what it is. And in this clip, or clipette, we will see some of the film.
Oh.
I think that's pretty well set up, don't you?
I thought clipette was a sexist reference.
A lady barber.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, Michael, would you tell us what we ought to know before seeing this bit of celluloid?
Yeah. Well, I think you should know that it is one of many scenes in a rather strange and obscure film. No, it's a film by Terry Gilliam, in which halfway through it, myself and Shelley Duvall appear as sort of the eternal lovers of history, always about to sort of consummate their relationship with with a kiss, a gentle, chaste kiss. And there are a number of time bandits, who are 6 dwarves, chasing through history with this kid that they've sort of kidnapped, and they fall through time holes into various periods in history. And
they
Shelley
fall
and
through time holes.
Time holes.
Yeah, it's somewhere early in the film they appear having fallen through a time hole.
I should have begun right at the beginning, you know. I made the mistake of going in the film halfway through, which no structural engineer would have done at all.
Certainly.
Start at the beginning. So, I mean, they're all looking utterly mystified, a lot of yawning going on, people are leaving. Time bandits, they say, that's one to miss.
Well,
but I promise you, it isn't. It's a good movie, and the more successful it is, you know,
the more of you will go.
The more of you will go, yes. Yeah, anyway, so the bandits fall on top of Shelley and myself at various points when, as I say, we are just about to exchange.
When you're least expecting it. Well, so here, let us look at that, and reverently, I hope, that romantic moment in the film.
Alone at last.
Isn't it glorious?
Yes. I love the ocean. God, how I love her. She's so damn...
Wet.
Wet, yes. Yes, so damn wet. Pansy, look at me.
Yes, Vincent.
Do you love me?
Of course I love you.
You don't mind the thing on the end of my nose?
Oh, you mean your...
Yes, my...
No, darling. Don't be silly.
Could you share a house with a chap who has a thing like this on the end of his nose?
Of course, my love. Everyone has something odd about them.
Yes.
Why, I've got an enormous...
Pansy, I'm so glad you feel the way you do. Because now I can ask you what I've always wanted to ask you.
Oh, ask me. Ask me.
Pansy, will you... Will you... Pansy! Pansy! Give me that! Pansy, I can explain. It's only the thing on my nose and the hair piece. Everything else is fine.
Wonderful.
What does it all mean? We said,
Sorry,
what does it all mean?
I'm sorry, I hope my laughter isn't irreverent. Does the film have a happy ending? I don't want you to spoil it for anyone, but...
Well, it depends on how you're feeling at the end.
Oh.
Yes, it has an ending,
Yeah.
which is what they call ambivalent in the trade.
Oh,
Ambivalent,
well,
you know.
nice to know that.
It leaves the door open for people to leave.
Wait, I was going to say about that. Oh, Shelley Duvall. She does a apparently authentic upper-class British accent there, doesn't she?
Yes, yeah, very well. I think she looks marvelous actually in that the Edwardian. That's the sort of Edwardian style. That was on the Titanic, by the way. Did I make that clear?
Oh no!
Ah.
Oh, now I
Can we
get
run
it.
back? Or
Can
should I
we
just
do it
sort of-
again?
Well, it was on the Titanic,
Yeah.
and we used the Titanic. There's a sort of section of the Titanic which is available for all British films to do with sink the Titanic, raise the Titanic, lower the Titanic. In fact, you read about the film Lou Grade made, Raise the Titanic, which did colossally badly, lost an awful lot of money, and he was quoted as saying it would have been, what did he say, cheaper to lower the Atlantic. So really, films about the Titanic are doomed. So that's why we keep our Titanic clip to such a short time. But it's wonderful, actually. May I just say quickly? It's a deck, a long stretch of deck, on the sort of pivotal thing. So it goes up and down, and the whole thing goes, zoom, and everyone slides down. But we did a thing where I was supposed to slide down later on. We're seen on deck with Pansy, and I was supposed to slide off. And the deck wasn't shiny enough. The pivot thing went, and the whole deck tipped up, and everyone stayed where they were.
Nobody slid.
Tried to slide down, you know, move along. Oh, I've got to sink this ship. So they had to come along, and men had to shine and polish it. So the next time, vroom. And of course, there was that orchestra. We all fell down on top of each other's cellos and things like that. Extremely painful.
You mean that's a standing set or whatever they call it? That's always used
if
in
you want to do a
movies?
film, you know. Dick Cavett on the Titanic. Yeah. Dick Cavett, Titanic Man. You can use that set.
So that set is famous. It's been seen in many. It's a celebrity set.
It's seen by very few people in many films. Yeah. No, it is. It is the stock British Titanic sinking set.
That's such a funny remark of Lou Grade's that the men could lose that much money and be that funny about it. It's quite
right.
remarkable.
Yeah.
What went wrong with that film, I guess, other than the fact that the boat they raised looked like it was 12 feet long?
Yes.
In the movie.
They'd said raise the model of the Titanic. If they'd called it that, then fine, and no one would have been disappointed. I mean, no one would have gone, but they wouldn't have been disappointed.
They'd have had no complaint coming, as we say. I guess you pretty well exhausted on the Python shows the making fun of the conventions of television, like having the end appear 3 minutes into a program.
That's right, yeah.
And that sort of thing. Did anybody take those things seriously and
Yes.
tune out and say, that was
Yes.
awfully short, wasn't it?
Yes, they did. No, people did. And we got a lot of, especially we used to put, at the end, the BBC's very structured, you know, I mean, at the end, you always had the BBC symbol, which was a world spinning round. It always came at the end of a program. And a very BBC voice would say, well, that is the end of, you know, whatever it was, Monty Python's Flying Circus, or Civilizations, Kenneth Clark's Civilization, will be on at the same time next week. Now, String, a fortnightly program where we examine, you know, whatever it was. And we used to put the world symbol on, and we would have a voice, which was a stop BBC voice, saying, and now the next 3 minutes of Monty Python's Flying Circus. And we used to get very angry, then we would show a little bit more of the program. Then on would come the symbol again.
People kept thinking it was
Yes,
ending. And then
that's right. They'd say, and now one more half minute of Monty Python's Flying Circus. Well, it was funny at the time.
They obviously have a sense of humor at the BBC to be able to allow you to do all that stuff.
Yeah.
That's nice. Mr. Palin, we've run out of time.
Oh, no.
I'm sorry.
Really?
We've run out of words, and words actually have run out of us, but the time has run out on us. It's been a real pleasure having you here.
That's very
Thanks a
nice.
lot.
Thank
Come
you.
again anytime.
Thanks.
See you next time.